Imagine a crisp autumn day in 1963, a vibrant American city alive with cheers as a leader's motorcade glides through crowded streets. Smiles beam, hands wave flags, but in an instant, horror unfolds. Sharp cracks of gunfire echo. The leader's head jerks back violently, blood erupting in a gruesome spray that stains the car and shocks the world. Fragments of skull and brain scatter like macabre confetti. A wife's desperate cry cutting through the pandemonium as chaos engulfs the scene. This wasn't just tragedy. It was captured on a humble 8mm film by an ordinary man, a reel that held more than images. It concealed shadows of conspiracy that linger to this day. Fast forward to 1999, the U.S. government quietly hands over $16 million to his descendants for that blood-drenched artifact, deeming it irreplaceable. But why such a fortune for faded celluloid? Because hidden within those frames are codes, anomalies, and truths that threaten to unravel the very narrative of American history. Dive into this vortex of secrets where every shadow whispers danger and reality twists into something far darker. In the sweltering attic of a modest ranch-style home in suburban Texas, 1999, the air thick with dust and forgotten memories, a family converges around a weathered cardboard box unearthed after the patriarch's quiet passing. Elias, the grandfather, an unassuming mechanic with calloused hands from years tinkering with engines, had been there that fateful day in the 60s, positioned on a slight rise of grass, his amateur camera humming softly as the procession approached. The sun glinted off polished vehicles, the crowd's enthusiasm palpable, until the abrupt pops shattered the idol. 3 shots in rapid fire, the leader's body convulsing, crimson blooming across his attire in a visceral display of mortality. Elias's lens captured it all, the slump, the spray, the raw agony etched on faces frozen in disbelief. Yet he seldom uttered a word about it, stowing the reel away like a burdensome relic. Miraculously, it endured a bizarre inferno in 1972, flames ravaging the house but sparing the canister, as though an invisible shield warded it from destruction. Now his granddaughter, Alex, a dedicated 28-year-old archivist at a regional history museum, sifts through the inheritance, her fingers trembling as she loads the film into an antique projector. The machine whirs to life, casting jittery light on the peeling wallpaper, revealing scenes of unfiltered brutality, the explosive impact on the skull, tissue dispersing in a horrific arc, the immediate bedlam of screams and scrambling bodies. But amid the gore, peculiar elements surface, fleeting shadows that defy natural light, hinting at additional presences lurking just beyond the frame's edge, figures that vanish upon closer scrutiny. Alex turns to her aunt, gathered with other relatives in the dim space. This footage isn't merely historical, it's a vault of unspoken horrors. Why did Grandpa conceal it so fiercely? Whispers circulate among them late into the evening, recollections of Elias's nightmares, mutterings about pursuers in the night. Unbeknownst to them, federal observers already monitor from afar, their interest piqued by whispers of the reel's existence. Tucked beside the projector, Elias's leather-bound journal offers cryptic clues, scrawled entries of anonymous warnings, threats of perpetual quietude if the film saw light.
As Alex cautiously digitizes the reel on her workstation, digital artifacts emerge, pixels distorting into enigmatic patterns reminiscent of ancient esoteric emblems, perhaps Masonic in origin. The government's proposition arrives unannounced at daybreak. A stoic agent in a nondescript suit, clutching a valise, extends the offer of $16 million for the authentic piece. But the timing raises alarms. After all these years, what urgency drives this acquisition? Alex intuits it's not preservation thereafter, but suppression of a profound revelation, a strand that could dismantle entrenched American legends. The agreement is inked with reluctant signatures, yet Alex safeguards a clandestine duplicate, her scholarly curiosity kindling a blaze that might engulf her lineage. The silent reel, once dormant, now pulses with latent peril, beckoning her into realms where history conceals its darkest facets.
What dwells in the brilliance of a notorious calamity, discernible only when illumination warps precisely, murmuring enigmas capable of eroding a country's foundational faith? Alex huddles in her cozy yet cluttered apartment, the glow from her computer screen illuminating stacks of archival tomes and faded photographs on the walls. With meticulous care, she enhances the digitized frames using specialized software borrowed from her museum duties, zooming in to the chaos captured that distant afternoon. In frame number 212, a shadow elongates anomalously from an innocuous onlooker, morphing into an inverted cruciform silhouette, subtly incised as if seared into the film's very substrate. Her close companion, Jordan, a sharp-witted librarian with a knack for technology, arrives to assist. "Observe this closely," Alex urges, magnifying the anomaly. "These aren't mere defects, they're intentional inscriptions." Jordan concurs, resembling ciphers from espionage tales, yet palpably authentic. They tinker with various digital filters, and beneath an infrared overlay, inscriptions materialized amid the turf. "Eagle descends." What significance does this hold? Alex delves into discreet research, uncovering that eagle served as a covert designation in antiquated intelligence dossiers for elite operations. Meanwhile, familial discussions over the transaction grow heated. Her uncle advocates for a public sale to maximize gains, while her aunt recoils in dread, evoking Elias's tales of spectral watchers amid the throng. An abrupt telephone chime pierces the midnight hush. A modulated timbre inquires, "Have you perceived what conceals itself openly? It slays from obscurity." Alex disconnects abruptly, pulse racing. Further probing unveils the reel's eccentric trait, a subtle metallic tang clinging to the canister, evocative of perspiration-soaked grips during a desperate flight. The authorities label it an artifact, but pilfered memoranda Alex accesses through perilous means disclose its inclusion in an expansive assemblage, comparable recordings from disparate incidents bearing identical umbral signatures. Alex comprehends that Elias's vantage was no coincidence. It was impeccably orchestrated, suspiciously so. As she assembles the puzzle, an automobile lingers curbside, its beams slicing through her drapes like interrogative glares. The compensation transcended benevolence, it embodied containment. Yet the shadows allure, ensnaring her in a labyrinth where chronicles aren't chronicled, they're contrived.
Jordan cautions during their late-night session, "This could endanger us all," but Alex presses on, driven by an academic fervor to unearth the veiled. The symbols, she theorizes, might link to subterranean networks persisting from the Cold War, their tendrils extending into contemporary power structures. Each revelation peels back layers, exposing how the film's innocuous appearance masks a trove of peril, where every flicker could ignite widespread upheaval. Shocking dialogue. The operative inclines forward and utters, "This spool possesses the potential to overhaul historical narratives upon decryption, though certain verities are preferable interred alongside the departed." Within the austere corridors of a federal edifice in Washington, 1999, impeccably attired officials convene over stacks of redacted folios. Harlan, a mid-tier administrator entrenched in bureaucratic tedium, scrutinizes the procurement directive. $16 million for mere moments of pandemonium, he grumbles to his overseer. The overseer retorts, "It's beyond the visuals, embedded sonic irregularities, subdued yet present, akin to spectral utterances delineating loci." Covert acoustic examinations in secluded facilities detect aberrations, infrasonic vibrations aligning with obsolete jamming apparatuses from the era of ideological strife, implying the incident involved disrupted transmissions spiraling awry. Harlan, compelled by conscience, funnels a dossier to an external liaison, jeopardizing his tenure. The footage is sanctified as a patrimony to circumvent legislative scrutiny in the disbursement. Returning to Texas, Alex intercepts a parcel, an incognito drive harboring fragmentary transcripts. Initiative Umbral Frame commenced. She confides in Jordan. Their aim isn't safeguarding antiquity, it's obfuscation. Jordan admonishes, "Proceed with caution. Individuals evaporate for lesser infractions. Anomalous attributes manifest. The reel's perforation intervals deviate irregularly, engineered perhaps for synchronization with clandestine apparatuses in subterranean redoubts." The kin endorse confidentiality pacts, but Alex defies, journeying to interrogate a pensioned operative in a care facility. He wheezes, "Your forebear witnessed excess. The remuneration constitutes atonement currency." Intimidations intensify. Alex's vehicle vandalized with incisions emulating projectile lacerations. The administration's murmur escalates to an internal clamor. Why sequester documentation of a communal spectacle unless it unmasks manipulators? As Harlan's disclosure proliferates clandestinely, Alex unravels a murmur. The Texas trial, further installments imminent. The intrigue densifies, intertwining bygone atrocities with extant reticences. Harlan, in a furtive encounter, divulges more. The whispers concode coordinates to concealed depots where analogous artifacts repose, each a fragment in a grand mosaic of orchestrated deceptions. Alex grapples with the implications, her archival expertise clashing with the emerging reality that history's whispers might be deliberate distortions crafted to perpetuate control.
Fact: the disbursement traversed 3 extraterritorial accounts, each affiliated with covert operations coffers that dissipated post-transaction like vapor. Beneath the undulating terrains of the Appalachians, Alex infiltrates a derelict governmental repository utilizing fabricated credentials procured via Jordan's digital prowess. Endless aisles of metallic racks harbor containers tagged aberrant relics.
She locates the pristine reel encased in regulated vitrine. Contacting it, she detects an archaic aroma of gunpowder intermingled with lavender, an eccentric safeguard, conceivably to obscure evidentiary residues. Duplicating a facsimile, she screens it on premises. Reverberations amplify, the soundtrack disclosing stratified timbres intoning treachery at midday. Elias's ledger, concealed in her satchel, narrates his evasion that epical day. Hounded by figures in trilbies, he secreted the reel in a drainage conduit redolent of metropolitan decay. Alex correlates. The emblems correspond to repository cartography, directing to contiguous dossiers on fabricated occurrences. A sentinel nears. What business here? She fabricates, standard cataloging. He regards her dubiously, yet departs. Externally, she interprets Elias's ledger cryptograms. Elias functioned as an unwitting instrument, his apparatus bestowed by an associate in reconnaissance. The echoes transcend acoustics. Proponents assert their psychic imprints from the ordeal etched onto the medium. As she evacuates the depository, subdued sirens resound, not a comprehensive alarm, but a subtle herald of pursuit. The artifact's genuine worth crystallizes. It encapsulates a schema for engineering upheavals. Alex ascertains the 16 million procured duration to numeralize and modify the archetype. Reverberations torment her slumber, luring her profoundly into repositories where antiquity murmurs its fabrications. Jordan, rendezvousing post-escape, analyzes extracted data. Patterns suggest predictive algorithms embedded, forecasting societal responses to trauma. The vault's echoes linger, a temporal bridge connecting Elias's era to Alex's quest, unveiling how archives serve not as guardians of truth, but as fortresses of selective memory. Riddle. Who acquires muteness with aurum, surpassing phantoms merely to dissolve into profounder gloom? Amid the lavish confines of a Manhattan hostelry chamber, 1999, a surreptitious vendue transpires. Alex, alerted by Harlan's intelligence, masquerades as a procurer. The reel is exhibited beneath crimson illumination, 16 million from the regime, yet a continental accumulator, veiled in plush disguise, proffers 20. He intones, this segment harbors the portal to obscured opulences. Alex eavesdrops. The icons cipher fiscal pathways from 60s larcenies linked to the episode's patrons. Eccentricity accentuates. The accumulator's circlet harbors the jewel that luminesces subtly proximate to the reel, resonating as with occult lodestones within the strip. The administrative delegate rebuts, sovereign imperative overrides. The tenver ascends, but the European retreats precipitously, murmuring to Alex, vigilance for the cipher. It rouses archaic custodians. Returning, she assays the facsimile with a magnet. It adheres peculiarly, disclosing microspecs cataloging designations of a covert fraternity. Jordan dissects. This exceeds cinema. It's an informational citadel. The kin exults in the remuneration, but Alex exposes the contortion. The concealed accumulator represented the fraternity's facade, assaying fidelities. Menaces materialize, a consignment enclosing a solitary cadre besmirched with sanguine. The enigma resolves, reticence procured, yet reverberations endure. Alex confederates fleetingly with the Accumulator's renegade, unmasking the real's efficacy as an armament in informational skirmishes. The alliance, tenuous, propels her towards deciphering the ultimate veils, where fortunes and fates intertwine in shadows cast by a single fateful frame.
Shocking fact. Copies of the real trigger bizarre electronic malfunctions in gadgets, distorting transmissions as if the echoes of yesteryear are retaliating against the now, sowing seeds of digital chaos. Alex and Jordan barricade themselves in a seedy motel room on Austin's fringes, the laptop's screen flickering wildly as the digitized footage loops, shadows dancing like malevolent spirits. Jordan stammers. These disruptions aren't coincidental. They're rhythmic, akin to encrypted signals buried in the static, pulsing with intent. Alex, her breath shallow, grips the table edge as she illuminates a frame with ultraviolet light. Concealed inscriptions shimmer, bonds shatter at twilight. The peculiarity chills them. The script's pigment interacts with dermal perspiration, shifting hues according to the observer's anxiety, crimsoning vividly under duress, mirroring their mounting terror. Their tenuous partnership frays when Jordan's device pings with a shadowy proposition, tempting him to forsake Alex for safety. He admits haltingly, "The offer nearly swayed me. This abyss engulfs us." Alex hisses back, "Retreat now and we forfeit everything. That's 16 million masked horrors untold." They unravel further, the fraternity's splintered cabals, one craving revelation, the other perpetual obscurity, clashing in silent wars. A thunderous rap echoes at the entrance. A turncoat from the veiled accumulator infiltrates, rasping. The authorities are mere marionettes. The true dread lurks deeper. He exposes relics in distant repositories, spools from contrived turmoils exuding identical ballistic fragrance, but suspicion surges as Alex glimpses an insignia on his forearm, aligning with the film's motifs. She accuses, "You're embedded among them." He bolts into the night, abandoning a scrawled warning. Coalitions crumble, yet veracity persists amid ruins. Distant wails of pursuit vehicles pierce the gloom, compelling them to flee through back alleys, hearts hammering. Alex senses the real's vitality, its hum intensifying with peril, as if the artifact itself conspires against betrayers. The plot thickens relentlessly, bonds fracturing like brittle celluloid exposed to unforgiving glare, leaving them isolated in a storm of deceit. Dialogue hook. The hunter seizes Alex's limb and snarls. This cadre transcends chronicle. It's an armament poised to obliterate futures unborn. Rubber burns on slick asphalt as Alex hurtles eastward toward the capital, Jordan clutching the ledger in the dim cabin light, their vehicle shuddering under strain. The pursuit ignites at gloaming. Ominous dark cruisers materialize in the rear view, beams stabbing like accusatory daggers through the downpour. Alex veers sharply, they're gaining, unravel quicker. Jordan, voice cracking, the icons trace to a cabal birthed in the 1800s, tentacles ensnaring modern citadels of influence, manipulating from obscurity. The oddity amplifies dread. The concealed duplicate in her rucksack emits a throbbing vibration when threats loom, akin to a spectral pulse echoing from bygone epochs, forewarning doom. They halt at a forsaken eatery, fragments aligning. Eagle descends directs to an obscured cascade in Virginia,
locus of clandestine convocations shrouded in mist. Yet adversaries converge, colliding their auto into a ravine with a deafening crunch, metal twisting in agony. Alex scrambles free into underbrush, ledger leaves scattering like ephemeral ghosts, her lungs burning as she flags a passing rig amid thunderclaps. En route to a dimly lit repository of knowledge, she pores over annals. The armament isn't tangible, it's cognitive, a cipher unlocking sequestered outrages capable of dethroning incumbents, a Pandora's arsenal. Chronologies blur, visions of Elias's flight interweave with her ordeal as if the hunt traverses generations, ensnaring souls in eternal loops. Jordan reunites battered and breathless, subterranean paths await. They plunge into metropolitan underpasses, reverberations mimicking the real's spectral utterances, walls closing in with claustrophobic menace. The Cabal awakens dormant operatives. A benevolent wanderer morphs into a foe, knife glinting in low light. Alex decodes the terminal emblem, a chronometer tolling 13, emblematic of engineered impossibilities, realities bent to whims. The pursuit defies linearity. It's a vortex, dragging them into history's merciless maw, where every turn harbors betrayal.
The compensation encompassed a suppression mandate fortified by implicit lethal intimidations, guaranteeing quietude or abrupt erasure for dissenters. In a forsaken redoubt nestled under Virginia's ridges, dank and echoing with drips like accusatory ticks, Alex ignites a salvaged apparatus, the unaltered spool unwinding in the oppressive obscurity. Visions assault, and supplementary silhouette amid the multitude, a gaunt spectre with abyssal gaze, its umbra contorting into an impeccable five-pointed star against the glaring pavement, a harbinger of occult machinations. Alex inhales sharply. Absent from disseminated editions, they've excised him deliberately. Jordan, swathed in makeshift dressings from the wreck, interjects, magnify. His garb threads microcellulose strands, ferrying additional ciphers into the fray. Disclosures cascade. The barrage constituted a ceremony, motifs synchronizing with that day's celestial alignments, overlooked astral peculiarities in sanctioned chronicles, fueling endless speculation. The mandate's minutiae, previously disclosed, vows perpetual vigilance, oversight extending to progeny, a generational curse. Alex interlinks. Her lineage was selected owing to Elias's unwitting entanglements, threads pulling taut across decades. In the void, murmurs crescendo. Industrial titans bankrolled the relic's retrieval to avert divulgence of their 60s stakes in orchestrated disorder, profits reaped from pandemonium. Abrupt violation, Cabal enforcers breach the lair, torches slicing gloom like vengeful blades, footsteps resounding like doom's drumbeat. Alex retaliates. Cessation arrives. Melee erupts, Jordan dispossessing an assailant with improvised steel from corroded supports, grunts and impacts filling the chamber. Seized parchments expose the 16 million diverted to shadowy ventures, replicating incidents virtually for contemporary sway. Disclosures demolish facades, annals as spectacle, helmed by concealed puppeteers wielding invisible reins. They elude by a hair's breadth, veracity igniting fiercer in the chasm, yet shadows lengthen, promising retribution in the encroaching night. Suppose antiquity was orchestrated for tomorrows, a drill that hemorrhaged into actuality and persists in scripting the drama.
Pinned in a mist-enshrouded backstreet in the district, Alex challenges the Cabal's chieftain, a skeletal apparition materializing from murk, eyes gleaming with cold calculation. He jeers, "You presume this spool ensnares authenticity. It's a precursor forgery from 50s ateliers, sewn to gauge communal hysteria, a synthetic mirage turned tangible nightmare." The paramount reversal cascades. The fusillade wasn't spontaneous, it was contrived as a mock-up veering authentic, projectiles genuine, but incentives fabricated to realign dominions, a calculated gambit spiraling beyond control. Alex counters fiercely, then the remuneration's purpose. He cackles, to reclaim proof ere numerical sleuthing unveils the fissures, preserving the illusion. Eccentricities affirm. The texture's granularity mirrors nascent computational fabrications, elements anomalously pristine for the era, hinting at temporal tampering. Jordan, infiltrating adjacent grids digitally, exhumes dossiers. The Cabal exploited it for behavioral prognostication, authoring sequences resonating in modernity's crises. The reversal deepens brutally. Elias wasn't chronicling serendipitously, he was scripted participant, his ledger concealing antidotes to the ploy. Alex unravels the conclusive cipher, a contagion ingrained, triggering on mass replication, a digital plague. She disseminates shards across networks. If counterfeit, let multitudes adjudicate. Turmoil detonates, global displays falter, icons blazing in erratic bursts, systems convulsing. The chieftain retreats into haze. You've roused the narrative. It self-revises henceforth, unbound. Psych-warping actuality descends, yesteryears as preludes to mechanized destinies, the 16 million an installment on perpetual duplicity. Alex questions her essence. Was her existence penned likewise, a pawn in an infinite manuscript?
Analogous spools lurk for alternate incidents, sequestered in strongholds, each meriting riches and potent to kindle anarchy if liberated. As Aurora crests the legislative dome, the pact concludes in clandestine chambers, 16 million transferred, the primal real entombed in armored sanctums, guarded by vigilant sentinels. Yet Alex's dissemination virally proliferates. Shards ignite virtual arenas, ciphers unraveled by collective inquisitors, sparking whispers of rebellion. The terminal reversal endures. The funds veiled a vaster concealment, subsidizing computational recreations of annals to warp current discourses, history as malleable clay. Jordan murmurs, "Triumph ours, reverberations liberated." Alex retorts, "Yet what toll exacted?" Cabal operatives dissolve into anonymity, but aerial watchers drone ominously above, peculiar ceaseless drones echoing the reel's thrum, a symphony of surveillance. The kin prospers on the bounty, oblivious to the brewing tempest, lives altered irrevocably. Alex submerges into shadows, chronicling her saga. Veracities unchained spawn nascent intrigues, cycles renewing. Comparable relics murmur revelations, spools from conflicts, calamities, ballots, each a cadre meriting millions in muffled shrieks, repositories of suppressed agonies. The narrative spirals, antiquity unfinished but recurring, summoning explorers to pursue phantoms eternally. Reverberations sustain, compelling contemplation on shrouded verities, sculpting the Republic's core. What enigmas conceal in your lineage's frames, awaiting the fateful unspooling?
In the shadowed weave of forgotten slights and unspoken oaths, where the silk of retribution slips cool against the skin, soft yet edged to draw blood, lies our sanctuary, whispers of retribution. Here each tale unfurls like a venomous bloom, chronicling the quiet fury of the betrayed, the meticulous dance of justice reclaimed, and the exquisite chill of payback that lingers long after the final whisper fades. If these stories stir the embers of your own hidden grievances, if they awaken the patient predator within, then join our veiled congregation. Subscribe now and let the notifications become your midnight summons to new narratives of elegant reprisal. Comment below with the echoes of your thoughts, the betrayals you've endured, the revenges you've imagined, and weave yourself into this tapestry of the scorned. Together we amplify the silence into a symphony of satisfaction, for in sharing we sharpen the blade. Because true vengeance thrives not in isolation, but in the collective hush of those who understand. The most graceful revenge is the one they never see coming. Subscribe, comment, and let the unraveling begin.